Welcome to Economics, Lesson 9. Global Trade. Our lesson objectives are: understand and explain the economic concept of absolute advantage and comparative advantage, explain why countries engage in trade. Additional suggested reading and review can be found at the PDF that accompanies this slideshow. Introduction. Our economy does not take place in a vacuum. It is important to realize this. Our trade policies affect employment and unemployment, monetary policies, government spending, budget making, and peacekeeping policies. Why countries trade with each other. There are many benefits that citizens enjoy because of trading with other countries. Americans drink coffee from Brazil and tea from China, and many Americans wear Swiss-made watches and watch Japanese-made televisions. Many Americans drive cars made in Japan and Germany. Furthermore, these cars and others made in America are powered by gasoline from Arab countries. The people of the United States are very fortunate that we have almost all of the resources we need to produce everything we desire. Other countries may not be as lucky. Some countries cannot grow certain crops because of the weather, or they cannot produce everything because they simply do not have enough people to do so. It should be easy to understand why some countries need and want to trade. But why would the United States want to trade? The answer lays in the economic concepts of the principle of absolute advantage and the law of comparative advantage. The principle of absolute advantage. The concept of absolute advantage comes from the fact that some individuals or countries can produce more of a good from given resources than can others. For example, a Kansas farmer can grow more corn per acre than a farmer in Colombia, South America. However, the Colombian farmer can grow more coffee beans per acre than the Kansas farmer can grow. In this example, the Kansas farmer has an absolute advantage in corn production, and the Colombian farmer has an absolute advantage in coffee bean production. In the above example, if Kansas farmers specialized in corn production, Colombian farmers specialized in coffee bean production, and the two countries traded their excess production with one another, then the citizens of both countries would be better off. The theory of specializing in what we can do fastest and cheapest is called absolute advantage. The law of comparative advantage. It is relatively easy to see that countries that have an absolute advantage in the production of a certain product can benefit from trading with one another. But what if one country has the absolute advantage in the production of all goods? Does it still make sense to trade with a country that does not have an absolute advantage in anything? The answer is probably yes, and this is explained by the law of comparative advantage. For example, suppose there is a highly paid executive who is also very good at word processing. Suppose this executive were to hire a secretary to do the word processing for him, only to find out later that the secretary was only half as fast at word processing as the executive. Was it a good idea to hire a secretary who was less efficient in word processing than the boss? The executive can obviously make more money by devoting his time to managing and decision-making than he can doing word processing. Consequently, even though the executive has an absolute advantage in both managing and word processing, he has a larger comparative advantage with respect to managing. Likewise, in global trade, one nation might have an absolute advantage in the production of two commodities, but choose to import the item in which it has the lesser absolute advantage or comparative advantage, and to export the item in which it has the greater absolute advantage. What next? Take the time to go back and review the lesson on your own. After you review, complete the lesson review for the lesson and submit for grading. Remember, your submission should follow all the rules for standard written English. All submissions must be written in your own words and sources used cited at the end. How to cite sources in APA format. When you reference a source within an APA-style paper, whether it is using a direct quote, repurposing an image, or simply referring to an idea or theory, you should insert an in-text citation, the author's surname, and the date of publication within parentheses, straight after a direct quote. CitationMachine.net will assist you in creating citations.